Hello, I'm Elaine Stevens, and I want to welcome you to Art Beat. Hello and welcome to Art Beat, where art is the heartbeat of Ocean Springs. I am your host, Elaine Stevens, and today you're going to meet an artist with a lot of heart. We are so blessed to have him in the South Mississippi area. His name is Grady Bird, and he is internationally acclaimed and award-winning, so just stay tuned for exciting surprises. Well, you've just seen a little bit of Grady Bird, but there's a lot of him, only in height as well as breadth and spirit, and he's a remarkable artist.
Thank you.
And you started when you were a mere child. You said you've been drawing all your life.
All my life, the only reconciliation I have was my third grade teacher telling me to redraw that. She thought I traced one in third grade, so that's what they tell me, so I guess I got to start then.
So this was a natural ability that came to you as a child.
Well, this was BT before television out in the country when I was bored and had nothing else to do, and between chores I drew everything I could, and the only thing we had was cardboard boxes and window shades that I pulled off the window to draw on. And I got the feeling then to do drawings on different textures. And some of my work is done on some real rough textured paper that you really wouldn't think about drawing on. And I get a special effect from that.
The tools that you use in order to get this effect, I mean, they must be extremely special types of things.
Well, they're not really. They're just very ordinary. I'm a very cheap artist. I don't do oils. I'm colorblind. So that's why I do black and white.
I read that about you, and I wasn't sure if that was a marketing tool or if that was for real.
Well, I have to work extra hard to compete with color. I have to have good subjects, I have to have good draftsmanship and balance and composition and all that to compete with color. So I have to work extra special.
Well, when you see Grady's work, you look at it and you really are sort of overwhelmed by the detail of it. Now, you're working on a piece that I understand is going to be the most detailed sketch or drawing in history.
Well, if somebody wants to dispute it, they're welcome to it.
Good.
I'm at a place now that I don't have to do portraits for food,
okay.
So I can spend time and do my favorite subject. Every artist dreams of the perfect picture, and I was able to come across this, what I consider for myself the perfect composition, subject matter, and everything. So that's the reason I'm spending extra time and special attention to it, because I think it's really a perfect picture. All artists dream about finding that one picture. Photographers also. They spend their whole life trying to find that one picture.
So tell me about this picture. I mean, what makes it so special?
I was commissioned by George Bush's Sr.'s Zapata company. It was an oil company, then turned into fish. It was an oil boom and bust rather than in the 80s. And I was commissioned to do this, and it was so picturesque. The scenes out there were so picturesque. And I've taken over 200 or 300 shots. I can work all my life on this. It looks like I'm working all my life on this one. But I just love the workmanship and this openness in the air and the sunlight, which is terrific out there.
Industry.
Yes, it is. It's come on a little controversy now, but when we went out, we took a Sports Illustrated writer with us, and every fish they catch comes down a conveyor belt, and he couldn't find one sports fish. So now they're after the fish that the sports fish feed on, and if they deplete that, they'd go out of business.
Right.
So there's two sides to every story, but hopefully, we'll get a happy medium in it.
Well, will Grady Bird reveal the actual truth of his drawing, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think what I'll do, it's kind of hard to get people's attention to art anymore. A long time ago, I started signing my work as a hidden signature along with my main signature. So what I'm going to do is hide my signature in this drawing, and the first person that finds it, I'll give them $5,000.
Okay, I'm going to start looking right now. No, not really. Grady, I mean, there's so much to you, and I hope I do this interview justice because, you know, I walk in here, there's this tall, handsome, very handsome man. I hope the camera does you justice. And you have a whole world of art around you, and obviously there's a lot of spiritual depth to who you are because I see two very famous people that the world knows about, and if they don't, they've been living in a box somewhere. Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa. Now, tell me about what got you started in doing those kinds of spiritual leaders.
Well, I was with my mother on her deathbed, and she was in a coma, and about that time, I was trying to think the nurses were so great. I was trying to think what I could give to them as a gift because they were so nice to her and so attentive. About that time, two nurses came in the door, and they said, aren't you the artist that did the painting for the prayer room? I said, yes, I am. And they said, what are you going to do for us? Just joking. And by that time, we'd washed my mother's hair and had a white towel over it. And I kind of saw a vision of Mother Teresa in that. And I thought, what a great gift to give to the nurses of somebody that's tended to the poor and the sick all their lives. And that's when I got interested in it and studied more about her. And it's a pretty good stretch for a Baptist preacher's boy to do that, I guess. But I was able to do that. And what I'm doing now is giving prints to her missions. There's 34 missions here in the United States. And I have one of the prints here I can show you. But I'm giving those every month to one of her missions. They had a convention in Peoria, Illinois years ago, and I gave everybody one then. And that's kind of, you know, that's kind of my dedication to her. And after that, agency saw my work from New Orleans and commissioned me to do the Pope after that. So it kind of fell in line.
Fell in line, but the likenesses, as we look around the room and see them, and I'm sure my editor will let the public see them, but it's just a remarkable sense of her character and her caring for children. And how were you able to capture that?
I wanted to show her likeness coming out of the dark gloom that she has to attend to the sick and dying every night. And if you notice the picture, it's kind of dark in the background, but her face is illuminated. And I wanted to show that in her special attentiveness to children also too. I hoped I had captured her love and spirit in that.
Oh, you did. It's remarkable. And Pope John Paul II, who may soon be sainted, as I understand
it.
Yes, so tell me about working on his portrait, because I mean, obviously you received something from doing this within yourself.
Well, every artist looks for inspiration, and I prayed a lot, and I think that, you know, came through. And I had a kind of a tight deadline on it, and I didn't have a lot of photographs to work from. And now what I wanted to do was show the audience something that they would visualize when they went to see him at a distance of him, you know, waving to the audience instead of just a real close-up picture.
Well, I love the way you include in both of those works other symbols of them, other portraits of them, if you would, almost sort of a Monet type of, you know, kind of thing, impressionistic kind of thing.
I started that at Leavenworth magazine. I was assigned to do sports shorts, famous Marines that did certain sports, and I wanted to depict their portrait, main portrait, with a small picture of what they did, so you can look at them and find out just what it was. So I had to develop a style that would be compositionally woven into the main subject figure, and you just look at people and tell what they are. So it's kind of a special, you know, technique. And I'm kind of proud of the technique that you see in most of these pictures. I call water black. It's original technique, it's original style, and it's kind of hard to do realism. And my main objective was trying to raise the awareness and acceptability of black and white art. And I think I've done that to some degree with...
to some degree, to some degree. Well, I have to tell you, it keeps you coming back and looking for more in each of the pieces that we are seeing here today in Grady Bird's beautiful home. And we're coming back to Art Beat right after this.
Hi, I'm Tommy Fortenberry. I'm seeking the office of mayor of the city of Gautier. I have served the citizens of Gautier for the last 3 years as a police officer, and in that position I have seen and heard the needs of the citizens of Gautier. I believe that we can restore the public trust in Gautier's elected officials and bring unity to the elected government of Gautier. Working together in unity will bring healing to our great community. A vote for Tommy Fortenberry on May the 5th will be a vote for honesty, integrity, and change. Thank you. I'm Tommy Fortenberry, and I approve this message.
And welcome back to Art Beat. In case you have just joined us, we are chatting with the amazing Grady Bird, whose drawings look so real and so lifelike. And of course, I'm totally entranced by the one that is behind us, which you have entitled
Boca Cheddar Blues.
Right. Amazing. I mean, that caught my eye immediately on the website. Tell me, you were raised in Boca Cheddar, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
After my mother and father had TB when I was 18 months old, and I had to be farmed out to her sister, which lived in Boca Cheddar, Mississippi. And this gentleman picked cotton with him. Matter of fact, he was retiring about the same time I started picking cotton with him. And he provided us entertainment. That was before iPods and boom boxes. He sang really great.
What did he do? I mean, he was singing.
Singing while he was picking cotton. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. And Robert Johnson, they said, when I wanted some tapes, when my daughter worked for a record company in L.A., he said, I don't know why he wanted that tape, because it sounds like somebody sitting in the middle of a cornfield. And this is a tribute to Robert Johnson, and also, you know, Otis Wallace also, because the purest form of art or music is doing it without an audience participation.
Comes from your heart.
And about 25 years later, I went back after I got a Marine Corps, and Otis was still there, and I took a photograph of him with a Polaroid. And 30 years later, I kept that picture and waiting for some material to do it on. Mm-hmm. And this is bark paper, and I did it with pencil and white gouache highlights. And I thought the paper just suited the subject a lot.
How long did it take you to do that?
I quit counting after about 100 hours.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And
it's a labor of love, obviously, because
it was,
the man's look, the look in his eye, the smile on his face, was filled with joy. He must have loved you as a young boy.
Well, we were pretty close, because, you know, in every farm, you know, when you're out in the farm, you're all together. You know, it's just one accord out there in the farm when you're toiling away. And I was able to enter it in a worldwide contest. The only way I entered it, the reason I entered, they said if it's good enough, we might, you know, present in a magazine later on. I didn't have an idea that I would win. And at the time, they accepted giclée prints also, and not slides. That's the reason I entered it. But if I'd known there were 16,000 artists also in the whole world in it, I don't know if I would have entered it, but I was lucky to get top 10.
And you did, you won, I know. I mean, we are so privileged to have you in our home area of Ocean Springs, and so close to us all. The picture that you did, the drawing that you did with your mother and what you described as your hyperactive child, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we were packing up to leave on her last visit, and this was the last minutes we had in her home before she had to go in a nursing home. And my daughter was on her lap, and I knew there was about 3 seconds stay there. My mother was brushing her hair, and there was just a special, you know, moment there that we had, and I try to capture that later on.
Well, I see sadness in a lot of your work. Does it come from a place of sadness?
Not really. Every individual sees something different in a painting. And
maybe nostalgia, maybe something about
it's like abstract art. Whatever you see in it is, you know, is fine. Yeah.
But the characters are so real, and they are almost like photographs. Now, the man that you called him
King of the Road.
King of the Road. There's a song like that, right?
Yeah, it sure is. Roger Miller. It sure
right.
is. Yeah.
But this guy's decked out and with a hat that I've never seen before. Has tremendous detail on it. Tell us about him.
As people walk the country, they always kind of get a little publicly noticed before they do, and I was aware that he was coming in our area. He had walked all the way from something he wanted to do. He was a retired butcher in San Diego, walked all the way across the United States, all the way across to North Carolina and back to Mississippi. And I caught him right in front of Boulevard on Highway 90 and talked to him for a while. He was a free-spirited person. He wasn't a fanatic or nut. Right. He'd written songs and poetry, and I got to talk to him for days as he walked along the way.
Now, did you know that he was coming?
Yes,
this way?
It was pre-publicity, and you know how bicycle and walkers, on any kind of project, they kind of get pre-publicity, so you know they're in the area. But he's gonna write a book entitled My Little Walk, and about people that offended him and befriended him along the way. But he picked up this dog there in Missouri and called him Mo, and he had all kind of souvenirs, and he was just a really really special, free-spirited guy to talk to.
What special people are surrounding you in your home here? You're never lonely, are you?
No, I'm not.
It shows. I mean, you have an enormous world of art around you. But now, of all these, what is your favorite?
I'd have to say Mother Teresa, because it was more inspired than probably anything else, and my mother and my daughter also. It's personal. Anything personal is more meaningful. Everything I do, I don't do incidental art or random art. I do significant and meaningful art. I don't do commercial art to sell, really. I've been fortunate enough at some of the top galleries in South have sold my work, but I do it mainly for my own pleasure.
Now, a farm boy from Mississippi becomes this wonderful artist. I guess it was rather shocking to you when you were able to sell something that came out of your fingers.
Well, selling didn't mean that much. That doesn't denote, that you're good just because somebody buys it.
That's true.
And I wasn't about the money, but any kind of other publicity that I got was very, very inspirational to me to keep doing it. Because, you don't know you're on the right track till somebody else tells you you are.
Well, it's obvious you are on the right track, and your subject matter is so varied, and I know that many people in South Mississippi have seen Grady's work, but what we're going to do when we come back after this next break is we're going to talk about his Marine Corps career and how he learned to draw the way he's drawing now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this message.
I'm Dr. Jay Cook with First Baptist Church of Pascagoula, and we want to welcome you and invite you to worship with us this Sunday. Life has too many worries, too much stress, too many unknowns. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a foundation, a place to belong, friends that can help? God loves you for who you are, and He has a place for you in His heart. Come and see what's been missing in your life and discover the joy of a church home where you belong.
You are watching Art Beat, and my guest today is Grady Bird. And as with all artists, even literary people like myself, I'm a writer, but I love to read the works of others, and you have a favorite artist, and you're a collector as well, it seems.
Yes, I do. This is Maxfield Parrish. This is his masterpiece that is a lithograph of his masterpiece. And I call this the decline of civilization because 1923, 1 in every 4 households had this on their wall.
Wow.
And you could have bought that in
How do you know
73.
that?
I read it. It's on his biography. They keep a track of the prints that this is a lithograph print. It's a process of every color you see is done in stone.
Yes,
and it has to be exact register. And I bought that print for $150. It's valued. Sotheby's sold one a couple months ago for $1,800. And you could have bought the original in '73 for, what did I say the original was? $55,000, and it sold in the year 2000 for $4 million. $4 million. And I just love his work because he's worked a mathematical equation into the composition of his work that when you look at his work, you love it, but you really don't know why. It's really captivating, and he was well-rounded. He did poetry, did illustrations, and he's called, and he also did fine artwork also. It's kind of hard to bridge that gap between the illustrator and the fine artist, and that's what gave me inspiration to do that. I didn't want to be just an artist that did landscapes and still lifes, and Andrew White was another one of my artists that showed that I could, that he could do something with just really innate objects. And so I said, well, I can do that. And it's a hard transition sometimes, and I was proud to be able to do that.
Well, I lost a bet over there about finding the signature, but I won this bet over here about Maxfield Parrish because he happens to be one of my favorite artists as well. This one's called Ecstasy.
Right.
And you were fascinated by the way it has been reproduced.
Right. This is a new technology that has helped us so much in the art world. It was established about 10 years ago. It's called a giclée print. It's a French word for spray, and it bridges the gap between the collectors that didn't really want to pay us for what our originals we thought was worth, and also the kind of a cheap offset prints that faded. And now with this, it's verbatim from the original. We do it on really nice paper, and it gives the customer now a lot better quality art that is exact representation of the original.
Well, how has he influenced your work?
It was the transition of being an illustrator. He did a lot of illustrations for books and magazines.
That's when I discovered.
And that's right. And some of his work, earlier works, is like a poster work, and you really wouldn't recognize that work as far as his landscapes. The last years of his life, he spent entirely on landscapes. And the trees, I don't think only God has made a better tree than Maxwell Parish. It just gives trees are just magnificent.
Grady Bird could probably make a good tree. I don't know about that. Well, I'm holding a book of some of your original works when you first started with leathernecks, and I'm amazed at how you've utilized that same technique within the Mother Teresa and the Pope John Paul. Would you care to tell us a little bit about
When I first started at Leatherneck, I was given the job to sports shorts. It's famous Marines that have made it in the sports world. And at first I started depicting the main figure and then a separate drawing of whatever they were doing in baseball, football, whatever. And I noticed I didn't like the composition. So from then on, I started putting both of them together with smaller figures within the main figure. And that kind of became my signature trademark.
Well, you call it biographics.
Biographics.
Because it's a biography, really, of that person within your work.
I wanted to be able to just look at that drawing and be able to get a pretty close idea of the person.
Now, you had a mentor at Leathernecks, you said.
Yes, I did. There was such a great creative atmosphere there, and some of the older illustrators there was just so glad to share their techniques and everything. That's what it takes. It takes somebody that's not jealous of anybody in art and to be able to share their experience. And it was such a great learning process because we worked 2 months ahead of time, and the mistakes that I made 1 month, I could rectify the next month and look back on it and see how much I progressed. And it was so exciting to be able to do that when I first started. It was just a great atmosphere of creativity.
Do you remember the man?
It was Sergeant Joe Grimm, and I hope he's somewhere today. And I know he was a great artist too. And we had a great artist transition to Fowler at Leathernecks. There were some of the main top illustrators hanging on the wall when I walked into it. It was like a shrine. I said, I don't know if I'll ever be able to live up to this. Just fascinating illustrators, a combat artist also.
It's so hard to believe that. I mean, you know, obviously your stature dictates the fact that you could serve in the Marine Corps. But when they saw a man that looks like you that was able to draw so delicately, what was that impression?
Well, I tell you the funny aspect of that, I had an art agent that got me interested in going down and doing the first presentation of oil rigs. So I went offshore about 50 miles, and they expected the Andy Warhol type, and when I showed up, they was not convinced I was an artist. They thought I was a safety inspector.
Oh, you're kidding.
So from then on, they were real safety conscious for a long time. Finally, I had to convince them that, no, I'm not here just for a safety inspection. I really am an artist. And they believed me. They woke me up at 4:30 in the morning to see the sunrise one morning. So I was able to work, you know, like that.
I actually get a little tongue-tied around Grady because he really is quite an overwhelming personality, and his energy is very powerful and strong. And even though his studio here is quite small, there's an entire world around here that none of us have witnessed before now. So we're going to come back and look a little more into that world right after this message. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tommy Fortenberry. I'm seeking the office of mayor of the city of Gautier. I have served the citizens of Gautier for the last 3 years as a police officer, and in that position I have seen and heard the needs of the citizens of Gautier. I believe that we can restore the public trust in Gautier's elected officials and bring unity to the elected government of Gautier. Working together in unity will bring healing to our great community. A vote for Tommy Fortenberry on May the 5th will be a vote for honesty, integrity, and change. Thank you. I'm Tommy Fortenberry, and I approve this message.
The art of printing began thousands of years ago. Today, development of computers, sophisticated machines, coupled with uncommon artistic ability, printing has become a necessary part of our lives. Action Printing Center of Pascagoula is prepared to fulfill all your printing needs with their courteous, knowledgeable personnel. So come by the Action Printing Center at 3315 Market Street, Pascagoula, or call them at 769-2676. Action Printing Center, a Gulf Coast tradition for over 25 years.
Hi, I'm Addie Brent, host of The Addie Brent Show, and my show is all about Jackson County. Join me each week for great entertainment and interesting topics, right here on WKFK Local Channel 7.
And thank you for coming back to Art Beat. My guest today has been internationally acclaimed, award-winning artist Grady Bird, and it is an honor to be in his presence, and I understand that the world is going to be seeing you as they cross the bridge.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
I only did that so I could point it out to my grandson, because that's the only reason I did it. But we had a contest, and some of the artwork is already up in Bay St. Louis already for people who want to see it. It's going to be a relief in all of the what was left over after the Katrina. It's going to depict every 10th mile. There's going to be a piece of artwork. I hope mine's where the little bench is, where you rest and look at it too, but I'll be pleased with anywhere it's on there. I had to draw an outline of the painting here that you see for them to be able to cast that into the metal relief.
And how's that going to be attached? You were explaining that to me
Oh,
earlier.
it's going to, I can't believe, nobody's going to be able to steal it. It's going to be a bolt
Good.
all the way through about 2 feet of concrete.
Wow.
It's going to be really, really sturdy. And
So it's a bronze casting of your work?
it's a bronze casting of it.
And all the detail of Grady
It's
Bird's...
going to be some of the detail, and I'm not going to be worried about how it comes out, because he's probably mad at me now for putting so much detail in my work, but I'll be pleased with anything that